Hey y'all, and good now, whenever and wherever this finds you. Well, today Christopher did a video on the disruption of the automobiles, so let's take a look.
Tesla had a pretty good earnings report. So a lot of people are getting something that Tesla said confused because they said we're going to have a compounded annual growth rate of 50%. So not we're growing at 50% each year. That's not what that means. That means that over the long term, there will be a 50% average. First year it went up by 55%. The second year it went up by 87%. And I'm talking production, how many cars they produce. Last year it went up by 40%. So then they're all like, oh, they failed. But if you add those three together and divide by three, it's at 54%. We're still ahead of the game. And people are like, they just don't understand what's going on. But I'm thinking they're starting to realize now because Tesla actually put a full page in their investor letter for the Q4 earnings explaining what they meant. And they're like, this blue bar is a 50% compounded annual growth rate. This red bar is our actual production, and the red bar is above that blue bar each time. So they're still ahead of the game now. And come March 1st, we're going to start to hear a lot about this $25,000 car, and that would be, we get it to that price, you're open to 80-90% of the automobile market. Well, right now, the Model 3 lowest price can tap into about 20% of the offer. So you lower that another 10,000, and then it becomes available to almost everybody, and then you decrease the cost from there. But what this will enable Tesla to do is a lot of different things. First is they'll probably be producing more of these small cars than all the cars they've produced combined in 1 year. So we're talking, probably the second year they'll be producing 5 million cars a year, on top of the 2 million that they're producing already. But these cheaper cars will definitely cannibalize all the other models. But then we'll call it the small model. The small model will be able to increase the amount of sales and lower the costs over time because you need less parts. You can probably do a full body die cast with their gigapresses and eliminate 150 parts doing it. If you can eliminate 150 parts, they're going to be produced a lot quicker. So still have a margin, be able to drop the price to 25,000. All of these cars will be equipped with hardware 4, so they'll be able to do the full self-driving. And we're about to see the collapse of internal combustion engine vehicle sales, and it has begun. I'm not sure if you know this, but 2 days ago, the embattled CEO of Toyota, who said that EVs are a bad idea, we want to focus on hybrids, we think that people have EVs wrong. He resigned 2 days ago. And the CEO of Lexus is going to take over. And Lexus has already stated they want to be 100% EVs by 2030. I think this was not only, so I believe the Emperor, the Prime Minister, and probably Honda came in. Honda and Nissan, I bet too. So all of the Japanese car companies probably sat down with them and said, Toyota, your company holds the most debt out of any automobile company in the world. You're refusing to innovate, and you've lost 20% of sales this year. Your data is showing that your mind is wrong. So we want you to resign. And he did. And this is the grandson of the person who created Toyota. So this is the complete opposite of what happened with Volkswagen, because Volkswagen had a CEO, Herbert Diess, who started to be buddy with Elon. And he brought Elon in to give, a 4-hour presentation to 200 of their managers. And this was like 3 or 4 years ago. And then Herbert's talking about electric powertrains, electrification of Volkswagen brands, and the necessity to innovate the structural level of our organizational design, meaning why do we have so many managers? And then Volkswagen Group fired Herbert Diess. So that's the immune system of the internal combustion engine kicking out anything EV, saying the more EVs we make, the less we make with internal combustion engines, and our manufacturing is not built out yet. So you need to shut up. So they fired. I honestly believe we're starting just now. I think since Tesla cut their prices, we're starting to see so much pressure on all these legacy automobile companies. Honda, who was the worst off this year, sales down by over 70% in America alone, said we're starting to partner with other people do EVs. And I'm like, yeah, GM, Ford, Volvo did this in 2018, guys. And then most of those partnerships failed because they couldn't get along, because they have competing core competencies. Because now battery companies are car companies. We have to know that. And they know that because they create the fundamental piece that propels cars. So they know that they're an integral piece of this, and it would not happen without them. So now battery companies are shunning latecomers to the game. Be like, yeah, we make a deal with you, but you know, we've been working for Tesla for the last 10 years, and they have the next 10 years of you can't come in because we don't have them. So you build out a plant and put us in it, then we'll talk. So that's the kind of, and hook all the supply chains to it. So now the battery companies have power over the legacy automakers. And just last week, GM and a company called CATL, C-A-T-L, they canceled their partnership because they can't get along. And that was to build their Ultium battery platform. So now it's like GM they're not making the batteries, and they're breaking off their relationships with the battery makers. So it's like, what are they planning? They better, they should have some major manufacturing announcements here soon. And they just made one, and they're investing $1 billion for their 6th version V8 internal combustion engine platform. And then less than 100 million of that is going towards EV. So the only thing I'll give GM is that they do have the Chevy Bolt, and with the tax credit, it'll be $19,500. So they do have that. But everyone's sold at a loss. So they need to make it profitably. And they're unable to do that because they haven't done any of this stuff themselves. So it's very frustrating because I ran into a lot of this when I was in the legislature. And people are all like, oh no, it's going to go at this speed. And I'm like, are you guys getting your data from the big three? Silence. And I'm like, why isn't any of even Tesla's aspirations in here? You don't think they're going to do what they said they're going to do? We don't know. I'm like, but they produce more cars than this already. So you're giving us bad information. Silence. So they were obviously bought there were probably GM and Ford people in the room that kept silent. I was about to call them out, but I just kept it under. The way it's looking now is a lot of people believe that, someone buys an EV, that's just one combustion engine vehicle that doesn't sell. And that argument does not exist anymore to me. That might seem, that initial exchange is 1-to-1, yes, but here's the thing. So you trade in your car to get a Tesla or an EV, and then someone buys that used vehicle. So that someone did not purchase a new internal combustion engine vehicle. So now that's 2-to-1. If you go into some of the referent power of a Tesla, someone goes for a ride in a Tesla, sees a Tesla, then that's 3-to-1, because now someone's like, oh, I want the Tesla. So then they go buy a Tesla rather than a new internal combustion engine vehicle. There's 3 other arguments that I can't remember, but I'll try to find this article that was written back in 2019 that said internal combustion engine vehicles will collapse and EVs will increase. And then more updated versions of this concept have been published recently because of what's actually happening. It's following that graph that this individual made in 2019, and he published it on Seeking Alpha, which is one of the most anti-EV places there is. And so I'm really proud of Seeking Alpha for actually publishing that, because it showed the demise of the internal combustion engine vehicle by 2025. And then when Robotaxi comes out, then it's all about, it's going to be cheaper to get a ride than own one. Then you can shift revenue models to revenue per mile, or profit per mile, because you can set it up to be profit per mile, especially with these new cheap cars that are coming out, because it costs less to build and maintain, and we're expected to get 1 million miles out of it. You can drop the cost per mile to begin this service below 30 cents. And then you just put a 30% margin on that. You're talking 40 cents a mile to go for an autonomous taxi to begin, which is about 1/5, 1/6 the cost of Uber, taxi, and Lyft, ride hailing. Really excited is the Cybertruck. So that's another thing for Tesla. And then something tells me they just released their Semi. they created this new way that they work together, the motors, the electric motors, and like two of them will work for acceleration. One of them works to keep pace is when it's accelerated. But like after the acceleration isn't needed anymore, like this device clamps down so that these two motors shut off so that you're preserving. But then when you're going uphill or when you're picking up speed, they kick in to accelerate and then they drop off. So then you're only using one motor instead of three most of the time when it's flat. I think the Cybertruck is going to have the same thing to increase its hauling capacity. And I'm going to pull an Airstream with my Cybertruck, and I'm going to travel the Southwest and set up solar pillars here and train people how to sell solar through our service. That's my goal, and I feel it now. Like I think I'm going to get a Model Y before I get a Cybertruck. So I'll have the Tesla, and then get the Cybertruck too. So I'll have two. I think that fits.
What a blessing to have Christopher in my life. He's guiding me into this new paradigm. I've been at the door all this time, and he's letting me look inside and see what's going on, and then I can tell the others, come on, here it is, and it's happening now. And so I hope that you're getting it and that you enjoyed this video, and I will see you down the road.